Do we like what World Rugby has done here?
Yeah, I really like it. I do. And I guess I feel at the start, given the fact there's a little bit of rugby fatigue amongst the whole world of rugby, it can feel now a little bit like, oh, it's a gimmick. But I promise you, when we get to November time, that finals weekend in London, it's going to be huge. And I also think it's really good from the perspective of as well that we'll now know who the best rugby team in the world is. And, you know, the seedings and the rankings beforehand where they were as good as World Rugby could do, but they were a little bit of bluff sometimes. You know, oh, we're the best team in the world. Well, are you really? Because you didn't play that team throughout the course of the year. So I think from that perspective, it'll be really good too.
Yeah, Pete?
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be I think it puts, as Rob said, a real structure on who's who in World Rugby. For me, you know, this time of the year, touring was always one of the most enjoyable parts of the year from a playing point of view. And I think now to have it as a, you know, point structure and a real competitive side to it, not that it wasn't competitive, don't get me wrong, but now there's a real, I suppose, carrot at the end of it for all the teams.
Yeah. I really hope, Andrew, it becomes like a prestigious thing. You know what I mean? That like everyone takes it super seriously and it becomes... And it's only biennial as well because there's Lions and there's World Cup. So, you know, every second year, what's rare is wonderful. You know, we love a Six Nations. That's just Northern Hemisphere. They love the Rugby Championships of the Hemisphere. This should be a massive thing to win. I hope it's treated accordingly by the teams.
Yeah, well, what you're touching on there is that in rugby, there's always been that kind of underlying Northern Hemisphere versus Southern Hemisphere, and we're leaning into that. So there's a lot of conservatism in rugby and decision making, and this is, I suppose, a good example of, well, okay, let's maintain that kind of ethos, maintain the structure, maintain that tour kind of, and Paul O'Connell talked about it this week as well, but let's just formalise it and create something a little bit unique. I reckon a lot of rugby people are rolling their eyes a little bit, probably think, okay, this is a bit gimmicky, but just give it time and the momentum will build. Every other year isn't ideal for momentum. Ryder Cup seems to do all right. So I think we can capture the imagination.
Yeah. It's interesting, Pete, you mentioned there you loved this time of year. I had just assumed that, you know, from the Northern Hemisphere perspective, you're all going down tired. Like, and especially after a Lions year as well, I would have thought the last thing you want to do is a tour in July. So you like this time of year? You like these tours?
Yeah, look, I suppose over the years it's been a little bit different that we had the old kind of 3-test series tour and that's kind of gone. But touring is the best part from a player's point of view. From my point of view, certainly, touring was the most enjoyable part. You go down, you know, you're going down to the Southern Hemisphere. You are ultimately challenged with one of the best teams in the world, regardless of where you're going. So you're challenged against you're challenging yourself against the very best. You're all committed. You know, you're on a big flight. You know, you've been with your clubs together for the year. Now you're back together, and you're challenging against the best in the world. And you know, you have the crack. As I said, you're all committed. You're all together. There's no distractions over there. You're over there. There's crack to be had.
You put crack right at the end of the list, but I think crack is
probably top of the list. Yeah.
You had the best fun. And you were away. You were kind of in holiday mode, but still very focused on the game at the weekend.
Sorry, which is it here, fellas? The best in the world, or we're on holiday?
You can do both.
Okay.
But I remember specifically 2018 went to Australia for a 3-test series.
Yeah.
We lost the first test. Yeah. Myself, Pete, Murray, there was a couple others. We went out for dinner, just a quiet dinner on a Sunday night. Turned into a late night. I think we got back at 2 a.m.
It's the first I noticed it.
And training the next day, we were a little bit dusty, but we won that weekend. We all did grand. But those sort of little moments that you remember, but you know, if you're back here, you go back to Carton on the Sunday night and you're all feeling a little bit sorry for yourselves. And, you know, there's just, it's more fun.
Okay, very good. The one thing, I mean, look, for the players who've been in the Lions tour, obviously, I mean, this is a long season. The only thing people, the kind of slight reservation, I mean, it's a grueling schedule. We are knitting together random countries where rugby has grown into what it is today. So, I mean, you look at Ireland's schedule, it looks very sensible and logical. They'll play Australia, they'll play Japan in Australia and then on to New Zealand. Well, that makes sense. England will start today in Johannesburg. Next week, they'll be in Liverpool against Fiji. And then after that, they'll go to Argentina in the space of 3 weeks. And the Scots will sort of do the reverse. I mean, that is tough on the players, I would think. It's just the brutal reality of trying to knit this thing together, I suppose.
Yeah, it's not great. And player welfare is something that is really important, particularly at this time when, you know, rugby has been caught between a couple of stools of, okay, financially the game is not doing so well, so let's just throw more games into the bucket and we play more games. It might be the best thing for rugby as a sport, but is it the best thing for the player? Probably not. So there's definitely something that needs to be watched on that.
Yeah. Who's going to win this thing? Who is the best team in the world?
I mean, everything's very confusing at the minute. We haven't seen New Zealand play since November. France, we saw a different version of France at the start of Six Nations than at the end of Six Nations. Ireland was equally confusing, just the other way around, more positive from our perspective going into it. Australia being up and down as well. They put on a show. They kind of salvaged the Lions Tour last year by putting on a show. Joe Schmidt waving his magic wand. But then they dropped off. They looked tired in November. We might see the best version of them. This stage probably doesn't. I probably wouldn't anticipate that with Super Rugby Australian sides not really performing. So the answer is we don't know, Joe. Sorry.
Interesting.
It's a long-winded version.
I thought you were building up there to
South Africa.
South Africa.
South Africa, I think they'll get we all expect them to pump England. But we wouldn't have said that at the start of Six Nations because that England side, we looked like they were building, they were sort of developing this formidable momentum. Yeah. And all of that was derailed as well. So they're equally as unpredictable. I wonder what Ian Madigan thinks about England because he was like the cheerleader for England at the time. And although it all made sense, but South Africa, it feels like South Africa are in a different class altogether. But I don't think it'll stay like that. It can't just be South Africa and everybody else. Someone will make a big move. It could be New Zealand this morning.
Why can't it stay like that? They've won the last 2 World Cups.
Rugby's there's too much talent and too much ability and too much kind of pedigree in France, in New Zealand, maybe in Ireland as well. I think we could get back into the mix. We're not quite there. Yeah. France and New Zealand, I think, certainly have the ability to jump up.
Pete? Briefly, best team in the world?
With no rugby even played at the moment, South Africa are the ones to beat. You know, for me, I think their set piece is going to cause everyone trouble, and I think they're going to get penalties off the back of it. They're going to get access off the back of it, and for me, before the whole thing starts, they're the team to beat.
Okay, Rob, give you a final word.
Yeah, agreed. I think there's a huge gap between South Africa and everyone else.
Huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
I think the French, on their day, have the ability to compete. I just worry about the French in terms of how much will they actually commit to this championship. You know, and we've seen the impact of the top 14 running late. Their match this morning now, I think there's 14 guys who are unavailable. Yeah. Dupont left at home. Is he really injured, or are they just saying, you know what, you take a summer off?
Bilberry left at home too.
Yeah.
Now the Toulouse players will come out next week, in contrast to last summer, but I take the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So big gap South Africa and the rest.
And I'm really interested to see what Dave Rennie can do with this New Zealand team.